Hello everyone, I'm LJ and this is Beastie, and today we are going to be doing something I've wanted to do for a while. I've seen a bunch of videos like this and they've always looked super fun, and so I asked Meso to assist me in making this specific tier list. So this is a tier maker, so you make a bunch of, it's a tier list, obviously, it's pretty self-explanatory. And so I made the images and Meso cobbled it together, and today the two of us are going to be making our own tier list of the Bionicle, Gen 1 and Gen 2, the Bionicle set waves. So you obviously have all of your tiers here. F is for the worst. This, kind of self-explanatory, and this is the best of the best. So this is going to be all per my opinion. I don't think that there's really a way that I could do this. Well, I could do it objectively, objectively looking at every individual set and determining whether or not it has all the right points of articulation and so on and so forth, but it's not as fun. I don't really want to do that. So today we're just going to go ahead and do it per my opinion. So feel free to disagree and make your own. I'd love to see what everyone else makes. Tier lists are always a lot of fun. So we'll start at the bottom, and we'll start with the worst of the worst. I think this one is going to be the easiest to do. And right out the gate, we'll go ahead and start with the Winter Wave of 2003. That had the Borak, the MOL Matoran, the O3 Matoran, the Borak Kal and the O3 Matoran. And this one, again, is self-explanatory. The Borak Kal are not bad sets. I actually like them. My first Bionicle set was Gala Kal. The issue with it is that it came right after the Borak, and these are just recolors. And then the O3 Matoran, while they're really good designs, there are others I like more than the 2003 Matoran. So this one is going to rank really, really low. Obviously enough, next up are the stars. Now, 2010 only had one wave, of course, with just the 6 sets. This ranks really low because even though I like the stars, they're Avtorn builds and the brittle joints. I think the first time I came home with the stars and built Gresh, his hands broke, like right out of the canister. So that was immensely disappointing. So it obviously ranks very low. No surprises there. After that, we get into the waves that I think they would be the bottom if F wasn't the bottom. So if 03 and 2010, if the winter wave of 03 and 2010 did not exist, these would be probably my least favorites. So we'll start off with the summer of 2015. That had the Skull villains with Kulta and Akimu, and then of course all the different Skull Scorpio, Skull Slicer, so on and so forth. They're not bad. I don't necessarily hate them. The problem is they're a poor follow-up to the Masters. They don't do a good enough job of following up on what were, in my opinion, very, very good sets. So they're just a little disappointing is all. Speaking of summer waves, the summer wave of 2016 isn't one I'm particularly fond of. Again, the sets aren't necessarily... they're not bad, and I don't dislike them. The problem I have with them are that, well, first of all, again, they're a poor follow-up to the preceding wave. I don't think they're the same quality as the Uniters, but it's also a very small wave. Like, there's not a whole lot happening. It's just the beasts, Umarak the Destroyer, which, I mean, he's kind of, I'm mixed on him. I don't dislike the set greatly, but at the same time, he's got a lot of problems. And of course, you have Akimu the Mask Maker, of which I think there is a strong argument that he is the best Bionicle set released, at least from a canister point of view. That's an objective standpoint, of course, because, it's the articulation, it's all the different functions, and so on and so forth. I don't actually consider him the best. I think that title belongs to other, personally, I feel, better Bionicle sets, but I think an argument exists. That being the case, though, it's not exactly a standout wave. It's not one that's going to be remembered for all time of being this game-changing wave that everyone just really enjoyed, and that's especially not that way for me either. We're going to go up another tier here because I'm trying to think whether or not I'd put anything more in E. I obviously haven't thought this out to a super degree, but I'm not sure I'd put anything more in E. I think this is satisfactory. So let's go up, move up to D, which is slightly below average. I consider C to be the average, with S being obviously the best of the best of the best. Sorry, Men in Black. A being extraordinary, really good, B being above average, and C being the absolute average. So as far as what I consider to be an average wave, I put 2006's Winter Wave. Now this might be a smidge controversial. because obviously that had the Voyatorn and the Paraka. Now, the Paraka are quite a popular series of sets. However, to me, they're not as standout as I would have liked them to be. They're clone sets, and they're not even my favorite clone sets. They're just the same pattern with a different rubberized face and spine, and then the Zamor launchers, and the glow-in-the-dark eyes. And really, I mean, the promotion put me off. What is the demographic? Who are LEGO trying to advertise these for? Gang is on the loose. You know, they are the police lineup. They've been arrested. Like, all right, kids, you want to join a gang? You want to be arrested? Become part of the gang, the Paraka gang. It just, I don't know. It was always really weird to me, and I don't like rap anyway. It just, I don't know. It put me off. But from a set perspective, I wasn't big on the Paraka. Also, I'm not super big on the Voyatorn. I think they're very unique builds, and I actually really like them for their concept more than anything else. I just feel like the execution on a lot of them, Peruk, Kazi especially. Kazi, I'm not big on Kazi. So, I'm not super big on the Winter Wave of 06. I understand that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on that one, but it's just how I feel about it. Next up, I'm going to say is the Winter Wave of 2016. Now, I'm sure this is going to come as a shock to a lot of people, because BIONICLE, the Winter Wave of 2016, it was a return to form in a lot of people's eyes, because they had that greebly aesthetic again. They brought it back, because you have the Winter Wave of 2015, and it's all smooth CCBS, it's pretty standard, the stuff we were accustomed to from HF, and then this brought back all of the classic BIONICLE look, the greebles. I can't stand that torso piece for the Uniters. I think it is a hideous piece. I don't like how it looks. None of the piston placements make sense. BIONICLE has this issue with a lot of the pistons. Like, a lot of the time, they don't make a whole lot of sense, and I understand that. But especially for the Uniters torso, it doesn't make it, like, there are pistons on the sides, there are pistons right here, and I guess that kind of makes sense. But then you have just random pistons, like, just kind of in this area, and just kind of over here, and there are a lot of pistons on the sides, and a lot of their placements just don't make a whole lot of sense when you really look at them. Like, imagine that bending, imagine the pistons actually working as they're supposed to. Like, for instance, look at a Toamata leg, and look at the piston placement. It makes general sense. Like, it works. Not for the Uniters. I'm not a big fan of them. I also don't like how they were kind of sort of designed around the creatures. And I like the creatures, make no mistake. There are some good ones, except for Qatar. The problem is, when your end design has to require two different sets, you've lost me. I want a complete set. When I purchase Toa Liwa, I want Liwa to look as good as he can without the creature, and not have to rely on the creature to make up for some loss Liwa has. The creatures are generally fine. They're fine on their own. But the Toa, some of them are improved with the creatures. And that kind of, it's not an improvement in that you already have a good set that looks really good from all angles. And then you put a creature on top of it. And then bam, that looks even better. It's you have a Toa that looks like it could use a little bit more. Then you put the creature on it. And it looks, oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I don't like the masks. I don't really like how they had that weird gray spiky thing at the back of them. I feel that should have been either a solid color, or if you want to have that mix, have it be translucent. Have it be like the gold masks ended up being, just with the solid color and then the secondary color. That's how I would have done that. So I'm not a big fan of the Winter Wave of 2016. I don't think the aesthetic was particularly well pulled off. There's a way to do it. 2016 is not the way to do it. So next up, I'm actually going to take 2005 out completely right now, and I'm going to put them in two different categories here, because I've been giving it a little bit of thought and figuring out, well, where would I put these? So I'd put the Summer Wave of 2005, I'd put that in D, so just slightly below average. It's fine. I like the Visorak. I really do like the Visorak. I think they're really fun sets, and obviously, while they're clones, they have little bits and pieces that kind of make them slightly unique. So I like the Visorak a lot, and I think some of the Titans are really good. At least I think that Sidorak is decent. I like Sidorak. Rudaka is weird. I don't know why they designed a set like Rudaka and then sold it. It's just kind of stylistically inconsistent, is what I'll say. But Rudaka as a set is fine. Kitangu is also fine. Like, I don't hate Kitangu. I don't even dislike Kitangu. It's just when I think Kitangu, nothing really jumps out at me. Like, none of the 05 Titans are, to me, very memorable. I don't think back on them and go, yeah, classics. So, they don't stand out to me. And then obviously Voprak is a combination model to me, in my opinion. I don't see him as a set. He's a combination model that was released in a box to advertise this 3-in-1 package. So they want to just push these 3 sets, and they're trying to use this combo model they already made in order to push that. I don't actually see it as its own individual set, so I'm not even counting it in this consideration. So I'd say that's slightly below average as far as a wave is concerned. Now I'm going to take Winter of 2005. I'm actually going to put it down in E. This might also be a little bit of a controversial placement. However, okay, so the Rahaga are weird. I don't necessarily hate them. I'm going to say that a lot, I feel. I feel that the Voyatorn do a better job of being these kind of out-of-bin sets. Like, they're using pieces, and some recolors, of course, they're using pieces you come across usually. Like, you can build them out of a bin very easily, like the Voyatorn. I don't think the Voyatorn, outside of Dalu, I don't think any of them have any new parts. Like, there are some recolors with the weapons, and then Dalu's mask, of course, but you can generally get the idea of the set just out of a bin of pieces. The Rahaga are a lot like that too, and they're more restrictive. So I'm not big on the Rahaga. They're also clones, but clones in the sense that they're indistinguishable outside of their color and their weapon. The Hordika are like that, and arguably worse, because they're canister sets that don't have an excuse. They are identical. You cannot tell them. I think my friend Swart over at BSO1, he made this chart. He took pictures of the Hordika before their weapons and before the masks from the instructions, and he grayscaled them. And then he put them all together and said, all right, which one is which? You can tell, you can pick, I think, Winua and Nuju out of the lineup. None of the others. They are indistinguishable outside of 3 pieces. Both weapons and their mask. And there's no excuse for that. As sets, like in a vacuum, the Hordika are okay. I'm not big on the arm. Most people aren't really big on that other arm. I like the gear function. I think it's really cool. It's also the last canister set gear function we get until the Masters in 2015. But, I know, I'm not big on the Hordika. I was when I was younger, but looking back on them, they also aren't sets that I would go out of my way to recommend to people, as it were. All right, let's move into waves I feel were average. The standard, I'll say. The standard. Maybe not. See, average, sometimes it has a negative connotation. These next few, I don't actually think they're bad. I don't think that they are bad. I just think they are the average, the mean. They are the standard waves that one would come to expect. So everything above this, I feel, is above average. It's above the standard, or higher than the standard of quality. So starting that off, let's go with the summer of 2004. That had the Vaki and I want to say 3 combo models. Again, I'm discounting Ultimate Duma. I don't consider that whatsoever because I still feel it's a combination model that was put in this 3-in-1 package. It's like, hey, check it out. You can get all 3 of them with this sweet deal. And you also get a mask. You get this super cool mask. The way I look at it is a lot like the Ultra Build Star Wars sets. They had a combo pack, or a couple combo packs. They had like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, then they had Obi-Wan Kenobi and General Grievous, and they had custom box art for that, but it was both these sets in the box. And the way I see it is Ultimate Duma is a lot like that too. He's just 3 sets in a box, and the reason why you think it's a new set is because they want you to think that, because it has all the nice box art of a combo model that you can make without buying the set. Like if you have all the instructions for the individual sets, you can just build it yourself. You don't need to buy the box. The instructions are at the back of all 3 of the sets. And the mask isn't even advertised all the time on the model. Like it's in the comics, and there is a render of it with the mask. But other than that, you don't need it. It's a non-essential item. So in that sense, the mask is a lot like the power pack. You have all these individual items in the power pack, and then you have a collectible mask on top of it to get you to buy it. So again, I'm not counting that as a set. So as far as 04 is concerned, you had the Vaki, you had the Kama models, or you had the Titans. And the Vaki are really cool. I do like the Vaki. However, again, they're all very samey. They don't exactly stand out to me. So really what's putting this at the average, on the average, are the Titans. I think that the Titans are actually really good. I quite enjoy them. I think Nadiki is really solid. Kreka is a little hit or miss. But Duma and Nivak is really, really good. And of course, I like the atmosphere. I like the aesthetic that 04 had. I think that it's quite nostalgic. So I like 2004. I think that it is, or the summer of 04, I think it definitely stands to reason it's at least part of the average. Also, I think Lee Khan came out in the summer of 2004. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of people saying, oh, well, summer of 04 and winter of 05, or summer of 05, they're not that indistinguishable. It's a bunch of clone sets and then like 3 or 4 Titans. Yeah, I just feel that the 04 Titans are better. And that's really what's putting it over that. And Lee Khan is a good set. I think that the Tometru build is good. I think that the Vaki are solid. I think there's more to do with the Vaki. You can do more with Vaki. Like they have the transformation. Then you can do with a Vizrak. And the disc collectibles are actually really solid. And again, I think that Titans are better. So I would definitely put that over that. And then I put it above these because it sticks out to me more as a year. And it has a more consistent aesthetic going for it. Next up is going to be the summer of 2006. This might also be a bit of a controversial choice, given that the Anika are really praised. A lot of people like them, of course, and with good reason. I'm not big on the Anika. I don't like the masks. I think that they're really ugly. I'm not fond of their designs. I think that the light-up swords are cool, but I don't know if I'd necessarily take them over. I mean, they're difficult to wash, for starters, because they're electronic. And sure, there are ways around that, be careful or just, deal with it. But I'm not big on that. I have to be very careful with them, of course, and their batteries, so they'll run out eventually. So it's a limited time deal. So I'm not big on the light-up swords, necessarily. I mean, they're cool. Don't get me wrong. And then the Zamor launcher is also neat. However, their blaster, it's taller, but it doesn't have anything to keep the Zamor in. So if you have 3 of them in there, you're golden. You're fine. Everything is okay. However, if you have 4, then you have to be very careful, unless you're just displaying them. So the Aniga, I think, are actually the epitome of a standard. They are average in the sense that they have all the standard points of articulation, and they're at least solid enough to where you can't go wrong with them. You can't go wrong with the aptly titled Anika build. So I think they are what I would consider to be a standard wave. Now, as far as the Titans are concerned, they're really good. I like them. I think Axon is really unique. He does have some issues with his arms. They're really large, and his hands specifically. However, I think Axon is cool, of course, and Brutaka, of course, is a fan favorite. I like Brutaka. I think it's a good set. I know that there are some others who disagree, and they have good reason to. However, I think Brutaka is really solid. And, of course, Vezon and Fenrak is a lot of fun. So I'm partial to Vezon and Fenrak. And again, yes, I am discounting Cardaz, Vezon and Cardaz, for the same reasons I already mentioned. But yeah, I feel confident in putting 06, the summer wave of 06 right here. I do feel it is average, to me at least. So this next one, I don't necessarily think that it is quintessential average, if that makes sense. I just feel that I would place it in average because it doesn't stand out to me as, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a classic. It's a classic wave. It has a lot of really iconic sets. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not saying that it's necessarily not above average. I'm just saying that it doesn't, like when I think back on a lot of different sets, these are not ones that immediately come to my mind, and I also see them as almost, in some instances, some of them are downgrades to me. That's going to be the summer of 2002. This is going to be a bit more controversial, don't get me wrong, and my reason for that is because I like the Toa Mata more than I like the Toa Nuva. I don't like the bulky silver. Some of the mask designs are really excellent. And then the Nuva do a good job of transitioning from Mata to Nuva. I'm not a big fan of the Cao Cao Nuva. I'm not super big on the Picari Nuva. And I'm not big on the Miru Nuva. The Miru Nuva doesn't look like what I feel could have been a much better translation from Miru to Nuva. And so the Nuva do fall a little short for me. I do like them. I'm a big fan of them. I still think the first 3 years are the most solid to me. The Nuva are part of that. I don't think they're bad either. They introduced that kind of dual functionality with the tools, and I think that's really excellent, especially with Pohatu and Tahu and Kopaka and Onua. Those always stand out to me as really good examples. Some other sets that came out in the summer of 2002 would be the Barag, and the Barag are fine. I didn't really grow up with the Barag. I got them for the reviews. I think Meso sold them to me, and they're all right. That whole the grinding gears thing in the function really turns me away from them. I'm not big on that sound. I don't like it. It makes me nervous. Now the Boxor, which is also a really cool set. I like the Boxor. The Master Builder. The Master Builder also came out, and that's cool. I also didn't grow up with that. I do remember when I did the recap review for that, I was up all night working on that video because I went through every single model, and I just wanted to do it for the entire night and get it done as quickly as possible. And so I was up from, I want to say, maybe 2 to 6, 2 to 7. It was all night, easily. The sun was rising when I was done with the review. But yeah, I mean, it's a good set. I think it really helps flesh out the world. However, it's not one that, again, sticks out to me really, really well. And of course, the Exotoa, another set I didn't grow up with. I always thought it was cool. However, I think the Exotoa, it's fun. It's not really what I imagined it to be. It's a little stiff, and to really accentuate how cool it is, you need 6. You need 6 of them, or you should have 6 of them to really show, oh yeah, have all the Toa Mata in them. I think that would do the Exotoa wonders. And of course, with 2 of the Toa, it's very difficult to get them into the Exotoa because they're incompatible body types. It's possible. However, you either need to modify the Toa or you need to modify the Exotoa. And I think that's disappointing. I wish that had been worked around in some capacity. But, I mean, it's a good wave. It's obviously a very iconic wave. A lot of these characters and images and so on would carry through. But to me, it's a little average. But that's just me. Another average wave I'm going to put in here is the summer of 2008. Now, this isn't actually an average wave. Like, I wouldn't point to the summer of '08 and say, yeah, that's what you need to come to expect from Bionicle waves. By no means. And in fact, a lot of sets came out in the summer of '08. You had the 3 Mystica Toa, the 3 Mystica Makuta, and all the vehicles. Oh my gosh, so many vehicles. And of course, Takanuva. And so I really like the summer of 2008. It just has a lot working against it. The Toa Mystica are not good adaptations and good representations of the Toa Nuva. They're just not. They're average sets, at best. But they're not the Toa Nuva. They don't look anything like them. They were not designed to be the Toa Nuva. And their colors are all mixed up anyway. Like, you can see there is a behind-the-scenes video of Bionicle Summer '08. You see Tahu Mystica in blue. In blue! So was Galley supposed to be that? Or did it matter? Like, did they even put any thought into which one would be which character? I don't think so personally. I think that it was all just a coin toss. This is all without saying that the joints are super brittle and they break really easily. So that is working against all of the sets. As far as the vehicles are concerned, Voltraz is... I mean, I thought he was fine. I know that I've made reference to this numerous times and even did a short little bit with the maker of the review, the BZ Power review for Voltraz. And it's one of my favorite reviews because it's a fun review. I can tell that the staff at BZ Power had a fun time working on it, and Shiloh is hilarious. But I thought Voltraz was generally fine. Mazuka is really cool. However, he just doesn't really jump out at me. I like Takanuva. I like Takanuva '08. I think he's a good set. I'd certainly recommend Takanuva '08 to people. So I like that one. And the vehicles are cool. I'm not super big on the Rocco. I don't think it's bad. It's just not my cup of tea, which is hilariously ironic because my favorite color is green, and it has a lot of green, of course. Both of the Jetraxes are really cool. However, they're also not really favorites of mine. And the yellow Jetrax, I would have rathered a Takanuva recolor with the gold, as opposed to a Jetrax in yellow that we never asked for and never really wanted. I easily would have wanted a Takanuva in gold. And the Axelar is, of course, magnificent. It earned some toy award in, I want to say, France. And it earns it. It earns it so well. It's such a good set. And, of course, I didn't even mention them, the Mystica Makuta. Bittle is fine to me. Gorast is kind of neat, although the Obtorn joints are really restrictive. I'm not big on that. But I think that overall the wave is really, it's good. It's just, it has a lot working against. Oh, Krika. How could I forget Krika? Krika is excellent. I think it is a good wave. I really do. I just think that has so much working against it that I feel a lot of people are going to be surprised I didn't put it any lower. I don't hate 08. I don't hate the Mystica. There's just a lot of potential that was wasted. And that is honestly the worst thing that it did, is waste potential. Right alongside, I'm actually going to put the Winter Wave of 2008. Now, I think it is a good wave. I wouldn't necessarily put it above or below the Summer Wave of 2008. I like the Fantoka. I like the Fantoka Makuta. I like the Fantoka Toa. Kopaka is a little disappointing because, I mean, come on, guys. It's on one side. You know which side it's on. G2 got that right. Why couldn't you in 2008? And so I think the Winter Wave of 08 is cool. I find it to be awfully nostalgic. I like the Makuta. Voltraz, or not Voltraz, Mutren and Vikan is cool. I think that's a cool set. Icarax is also really cool. We saw the return of the Krakan, so I like that set as well. Toa Ignika is also awesome, although I've noticed recently I had to counteract this on purpose. I had to take my Toa Ignika, the Skyboard, and I had to put it on a makeshift stand because the pieces that it sits on are starting to bend a little bit. There's stress being put on it just due to the weight. So I'm not big on that. And then obviously there was a production error with the Ignika. First of all, we get it in silver. We don't get it in gold like we wanted. We have it in silver. Fine. But still gold. And there is a production error where some of them are crooked. I don't know if all of them are, but some of them are definitely crooked. But I like the set. And of course, I mean, I would be remiss not to mention the Avtorn. The Avtorn, I mean, that's the thing. I don't even hate the Avtorn. I don't really dislike them. I think that they're fine. They're just massively downgraded from a Torn we've gotten in the past. They're not great designs. They're restrictive. They're not exactly exciting. They're a little boring, to be honest. I'm not really big on the Avtorn, but at the time I liked them because, they look good on the Toa. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the Winter Wave of 2016. You have a Toa set. You have Kopaka, you have Pohatu, you have Liwa. And they all look complete. They're all fine. And then you have a Matoran added onto that, and it just looks better. So you have two sets that look fine on their own and can stand perfectly reasonably where they are. You put them together and you have something even better. It's like you have peanut butter and you have jam. And they're both decent on their own, but then you put them together and it's like, so good. So that's kind of my thing. So I like the Winter Wave of 2008. I think it's a good wave. I think the whole year of 2008 is really good. However, it also could have been better. And this is all, again, without saying that the joints are super brittle and they break often. So that's the issue. So this is going to be another one I feel will be a bit controversial. The Summer Wave of 2003. Also, just a milestone year. Super important. You, of course, have the Rakshi, the first canister sets with knee articulation, and they're super fun. They have great functions. You have Takanuva, Makuta for the first time as a set, Jalan, Gakko, Takua, and Puku. And these are really, really good. They're really fantastic. I don't dislike them. I just also don't like them as much as others. I cannot put them above average. In a vacuum, they're excellent. They're absolutely spectacular. But when I start to compare them to other waves, to other sets, then they just kind of start to go down just a little bit. So this is definitely, I can see this being controversial because it's so important of a year. And again, I don't think anything, maybe with a few exceptions. Obviously, personally speaking, I like everything from the Golden Years. I think that's all really solid stuff. That extends into 04, of course, and then everything kind of gets a little varied. With 03, I acknowledge are all really excellent. However, I also just like other things more. So this doesn't necessarily suffer because of it. It suffers because of me looking at things that I just generally think more highly of. But yeah, 03, Summer Wave of 03, really good year. Also, I don't like how many collectibles there were. 2003 had this issue where you had the collectibles in 2001, and those are really solid. You just had masks. You had two sets of masks. You had the Toa, and you had the Chiraga. Perfect. And you had whatever came in any other set. 2002 comes along and it ups it. You have a ton more Krana. Okay, well, I mean, fine. That's still cool. They're very vibrant. They're very neat. I can see the appeal. And then 03 comes along and it inflates the market. The collectible market just implodes because then you have Krata, more collectibles than we ever had before, and the Krana Call on top of that. It just hyperinflates collectibles. I didn't like that. 03 in general, just it added on to that. I'm not super big on it. But as far as sets are concerned, again, they're really, really good. Maybe this is a disservice putting it so low, but again, this is just my perspective, and I'm not trying to come at it from an objective point. If I am coming at it from an objective point, I feel like it might be higher, but this is just me. All right, we are going to move up a tier, and again, we're going to start off with something I feel would be controversial. The summer wave of 2009. I know a lot of you are thinking right now, the summer wave of 09 above 2002 and 2008 and 2003? Yes. I actually think pretty highly of 2009. I think 2009's summer wave was really solid. The Glatorian Legends, well, yes, a lot of them are standard Unica builds. Like Gelu, not super big on Gelu. He's really boring. Akar, he also falls a little bit more into the boring category. The reason that in my eyes he's saved is because of his color scheme. It's a return to form with the bright colors, the bright orange and the bright red. However, Matanui is really cool. Vastus, despite his issues, I feel is really cool. He has this really good look to him. Akina has that custom torso with a recolored part from 04. I think that's really awesome. And, of course, you have Stronius, and he's a really bulky Skrull. So I like the canister sets. I like the Legends. I think they're all distinct. They have these really unique atmospheres about them. And I really like all of the larger sets. Toa Matanui is not a fan favorite, but I actually like the set. I think that it gets a bad rap. It might not be a good set. However, I like it because it's a good design to me. I think it's a good design. The color scheme, verdict's out. I'm not big on the color scheme. However, I think the design with a little more work, just a little more time in the oven, could have been definitely a classic. And of course, I'm a sucker for the Golden Ignika. That's iconic. That's such a good look. So I'm a big fan of that. And of course, the vehicles. Scopio XV1, Thornatus is really excellent. Sendux V1 is really cool. The Caxium is really cool. And the Brannus, I don't hate it. So I think 2009's Summer Wave was actually really good. I think it had a lot of really excellent sets I really like. I like the aesthetic of the Legends, and I like a lot of the larger vehicles. I think that it is one of the standout waves. To me, I feel a little underrated. Right after that is going to be the Winter Wave of 2009. Again, I know a lot of people are not big on 09. I am. So when we first started hearing about it, we heard we'd go into Bar Magna. It'd be a totally different system. We wouldn't have any of the characters that we used to know. I was, of course, perturbed. I disliked it greatly. I would say, hearing all of that as a BIONICLE fan, I disliked it more then than I did Hero Factory when it was announced. And no one liked Hero Factory. Over time, 09 grew on me greatly. I really like this wave, especially. It was a return of form, so 2001, I think, is really good for this. I've talked about this several times. It's really good because it has all these different characters that are distinct, they're unique, and they all belong in certain tribes, and you can see that. Like, you can look at 2001, and you can see there is a distinct hierarchy, and there are distinct groups, and they look almost they're intentionally elemental, while still having this basic platform that is built upon. 09's Winter Wave, I feel, does that too. It returns to that after a long break away from it, where you have all these different characters. You have the first Glatorian, the second Glatorian. The Winter Wave, it was just, it was one Glatorian, and then it was an Agori, and that was basically it. But it looked like they belonged together. They had this very elemental aesthetic. I thought it was really, really good. Gresh, Strack, Malum, and, oh gosh, what was the, not so much Terex, not so much Varks. Skrull. I thought that these were really good looks. The Agori, I thought they were improvement on the Off-Torn, not in the joints, but the coloration, I thought they were a lot more vibrant, they were a lot more interesting looking. And I really like the look of the 2009 sets. Now, honestly, I might be putting it a little too low for my taste. I might even put it higher. We might make a few tweaks to this list. We'll see. But I'm confident putting it here for now. I really like the way these look. I like '09 generally. I think that it is actually an underrated year. I think that the sets are really solid in a lot of ways. Obviously, they have the joints breaking, working against it. Make no mistake. And I'm sure there are a lot of story things that for a lot of people they're not fond of. However, I like the sets. I like 2009. I think that as a whole, as a package, it looks really good together, especially having all those individual tribes and making it look like there are these unique villages, these worlds within the worlds. So I'm a big fan of '09. Next up, I'm going to put the summer wave of 2007 here. So this also, I feel, is a good wave. I do like it. I like the Mari. I like some of the Mari. I like Holly Mari. I like Matora Mari. Jala especially. I think Jala is really, really cool. I feel like Nupara was a little bit bland. Huki is just odd. I don't even necessarily like or dislike Huki. I just think he's peculiar. And Kongu is, to me, I feel, if I had to say any of the Toa Mari were a downgrade, I feel from the Inika, it'd be Kongu. I just feel like Kongu is the antithesis to everything we come to expect from Toa of Air mocks, or Toa of Air sets, and I wasn't big on the gray. As you can tell, I'm not super big on gray when it's combined with green. So, I'm not super big on Kongu. However, I like the Mari generally as a whole. I think they look good together. And I like the Titans, most of the Titans. So I didn't grow up with a lot of them. However, when I eventually did get them, they're really cool. Maxilos and Spinax, I think, is really excellent. I really like Maxilos and Spinax. This is, of course, an opinion shared by many. I'm with the opinion here. I think that it's really good. I think there's a solid argument to say he's the best Bionicle set released, from G1 at the very least. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. However, I really do think the set is good. Hydraxon is really cool. And then you have... See, I'm a fan of Gadunka. I like Gadunka. Gadunka was always really fun to me. Maybe that's just because he was the one of the few Titans I did get from 07's Summer Wave. However, Gadunka, he's fun. I like the fun look. He's unique. He's squat. He's got these huge jaws. He's just funny looking. I like Gadunka. Karzani, I'm not super big on Karzani. This is one of the few opinions I mentioned during my recap reviews. At the end, I explicitly said, it's like, all right, opinion time. I'm not big on Karzani. And I'm not. Karzani himself is really weird. The trap, honestly, the trap's fine. It's also just kind of strange. The Matoran are good. I like the Matoran. But outside of that, Karzani, it's a weird set. So yeah, I think the summer wave of 2007 is a lot of fun. I like the look of a lot of them. I remember seeing the Toy Fair pictures and being super excited, like, wow, they look so cool. They have these really dynamic looks. They have these great silhouettes. Silhouettes are very important for Bionicle sets because that means they're recognizable. And I think 2007 Summer Wave had that in spades. It's really solid. I enjoy it. There are some things that work against it, of course, by a set-by-set basis. But overall, I think it's solid. It looks really cool. I think it has a neat atmosphere. I'm finding myself awfully partial to the summer or the system sets from that year as well. Though I'm not factoring those into this list. I think I'm just focusing on Construction for now. All right, so let's go ahead and move up another tier. This time I'm going to go ahead, and this might seem a little controversial, surprisingly, but I'm going to move 2002's Winter Wave up into A tier. And this is obviously a high ranking. It's some of the best of the best of the best. The Borak are obviously wonderful. I'm such a big fan of the Borak. I think they're super cool. I even like the Va to a degree. And it's just a really cool wave. The Borak are obvious standouts for the year and for Bionicle generally. They're just really iconic. And honestly, them being so high is a testament to how good I think they are. Because really, it was just, unless I'm mistaken, it was just Borak and Va for the first half of '02. I mean, the Mata would still be in stores, sure, but those are our new set releases for Winter 2002. Maybe we got the Boxer then. I don't remember. I don't think so, though. But we had the Borak, and those were enough. They're super fantastic. I'm a big fan of the Borak. I feel confident putting them there. Next up, I'm going to put the Winter Wave of 2007 right alongside it. Winter Wave of '07 is such a fun year. I like it a lot. I think that the small sets are actually really good. The Matoran are some of my favorite designs. I personally feel they might be the best. There's argument to say that they aren't, don't get me wrong. However, they're my favorites of the Matoran designs. The Hydruka are fine. I'm not super attached to them. But the Baraki, they steal the show. I think that they're so iconic. They're just such good individual looks. They're the first canister villains that we got outside, the Rahi don't count as canisters. They're the first canister villains that we got that were entirely unique. They weren't clones. Mantax has this just these hunched to the ground. He's got these huge shoulder plates. Karapar, he looks super big and bulky, but he's standing upright. Elec, of course, was always my favorite. They just have these such great standout looks. These silhouettes, like I was talking about just a bit ago. And they look really, really excellent. I like them so much. They're really menacing and they're really cool to me. And of course, Nocturne. Nocturne is one of my favorite Titan sets. I really, really enjoy Nocturne. He's got a great color scheme. This glow-in-the-dark blue along with the lime struck against the black. And I think that's a really fun set. I have good memories building that one. So the Winter Wave of 2007, it stands out to me. It's a very atmospheric wave, a very atmospheric year, honestly. And so I'm a really big fan of the Winter Wave of '07. I definitely recommend that one to a lot of people. And of course, I'm going to put the Winter Wave of 2004. So this is, of course, a classic. It's one of the best years to me. When it was coming out, it's also very atmospheric. See, this does something different. So I was talking a little bit about how there are a bunch of different waves, a bunch of different sets from '01 and 2009 that you put them together, they look like they're part of a world, and they all look like they're part of different tribes within that world. They it's visual world building, I would say. '04 does that. It takes it in another direction where you have, with '01, you had this very primal, kind of rough, patchy, almost minimalistic look. Well, not minimalistic, but it's very technical, of course, and it looks very primal. And I think that's really cool because obviously you have all the Rahi, and you have these kind of wiry, spindly looking Toa. And I think that's a really good look. I love that aesthetic. However, I would also say '04 does that as well. It just conveys a completely different world. This very technologically advanced world. Everyone looks much darker, much... Honestly, it's more of a... I don't want to say saturated. I do not want to say more saturated, because it isn't, because you have the gray. It just feels a lot more robotic, in a sense, where it's more almost like they came off of a factory. They just got made. They're made for this very specific purpose. They're not as individualized as, say, the Toa, but they're also in a city they don't need to be necessarily. Like with the Toa Mata, they're all in these different elements. They need to look very slightly in certain ways to kind of adapt to that. The Toa Metru don't. They look like they're from a city to me. And of course, the Toa Metru are just so cool. I love the Toa Metru. They have the dual weapon functions, or at least some of them do. And they have, obviously, the elbow articulation for the first time. And they got the knee articulation. And they have the gear functions still. It's just a solid wave. I like the Metrutoran. I think the Metrutoran are so cool. They look really good alongside the Toa Metru. It's just a really great wave to me. I feel that it's solid. And I think that's about it that came out in that wave. It was just the Toa Metru and it was just the Matoran. This was before we got the larger sets that came out with the winter waves. It was just the canisters and the small ones. But it's super cool. I like it. I would never not recommend it to anyone. All right, so let's go ahead and move up another tier. And I'm sure you're thinking, LJ, what are you doing? What are you doing? There are 2 left and we're moving up another tier. So I'm going to put 2001 in S tier. Now, this should seem pretty obvious to people that know me. I'm a big fan of 2001. Big freaking surprise. I think, personally, to me, it's the best year. Easily. I don't think there is a better year than '01. It's due in large part to that visual world building I was talking about. You have all of these different tribes that look so distinct. And sure, it might be because of the colors. However, there are these small things that you have in all of these different tribes. the Turaga have all these different weapons, and they have all these different masks. And the Toa, of course, they have these small tweaks to them that, while they're the same platform, they have these things that make them look a bit different. Liwa, to me, will always look spindlier, for instance, than Tahu. Or even to a slight degree, Kopaka. Because Kopaka, while he has a sword, he also has the shield. It's close, though, don't get me wrong. And Onua, he's really hunched down. And of course, I can't not talk about the Rahi. Before I talk about the Rahi, though, I would like to explain why I didn't put this into a winter and a summer category. It's because the release pattern for 2001 was weird. It wasn't as cut and dry as summer-winter. It was more of a all-at-once deal. Like, the Mictorn came out in September, and that's one thing. However, the Toa came out in July for the States, globally. BIONICLE launched globally in July. However, they were already out with the Rahi in like December of 2000. That's why you'll occasionally hear me call it a 2000 wave. Or BIONICLE started in 2000 and went on 2010. But they were already kind of all out, as far as I can tell, in January of 2001, at least in Europe, in European countries. And then globally came to the States as one large thing, and the Toa Mata and the Rahi all came stateside. Now, it's very difficult to figure out whether or not that's the case. But because it's not as cut and dry as winter-summer, I'm just including it as one, just for ease of use, for the sake of it. So, now, onto the Rahi. The Rahi are awesome. I'm such a big fan of the Rahi. These technological monsters, these creatures, these animals that you have to fight against. You got the wasps, you got the hornets, or the Nui Rama, as it is. The Muaka and Kanera are also great. The Tarkava are some of the best. They stand out so tall, literally and figuratively. And of course, Nujaga are cool. They're not the best sets, but I like the look of them. Honestly, the weakest of the Rahi to me are the Manas. I'm not super big on them. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've played around with the remote control functionality, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun, especially with friends. It's just, I don't feel like that's enough to get them by. They're kind of just really large and bulky, and they don't have a lot of play value outside of the tech function. So, but I like them. I think 2001, it's easily my favorite year, personally. It's such a solid year. I cannot praise it enough. Does it have flaws? Absolutely. There's no perfect year. However, 2001, there's a reason that it is held to such a high regard, and I feel like it earns it in every way possible. It's definitely my favorite, and S tier is 100% where it belongs, in my opinion. And finally, possibly the most controversial of these decisions, the winter wave of 2015. I'm not talking about the story. The story is obviously the worst part about 2015, or at least how it was presented to us. However, I do feel very strongly that the sets are some of the best we've ever gotten. To me, it is on par with 01 from not the world building aspect, not the visual appeal, but from a set perspective, the amount of fun you can have. And this is totally intentional. This was 100% intentional by LEGO. They went back to the drawing board. They brought the masters in. Gear functions, like the Toa Mata. Mask pop-offs, like the Toa Mata. And then they made it better with having all of the normal articulation we had become used to over the years. They took the Toa Metru and basically perfected that concept with the bright colors, the characters we had been accustomed to from the very beginning. It looks so good to me. And it's a consistent aesthetic. Like, the reason I don't think so highly of the Winter Wave of 2016 is because it's an inconsistent aesthetic. It's got the CCBS with all the greebles. But 2015 doesn't have that issue. It just has the consistent CCBS look. It's all smooth, it's all bright, it's colorful, and you have the elemental look in certain characters, like Tahu, Kopaka. I think that a lot of the transparent pieces also add to that elemental look, especially on Tahu's shoulders. They all have these distinct silhouettes, like the Toa Mata. And the protectors are really cool. I think the protectors are great small sets. They're easily some of the best. They have great articulation. They have really cool-looking weapons. The only issue I take with them would be the masks. I think that you could have had those be unique molds. I understand why they're not, but I think you could have had them be. It's just, I feel like winter of 2015 is a solid wave. I think that the sets are some of the best. They're really good looking. They function very, very well. And of course, they do remind me nostalgically of 2001. That's 100% intentional, and I don't fault them for it. Notice I haven't mentioned loss. Loss does not need to be mentioned. So yeah, that would be my tier list. I'm sure I would make tweaks if I played around with the sets a little more recently or looked back on them. I'm sure this isn't by any means my absolute definitive opinion on any of these rankings here. However, they're the ones I feel confident about. Yeah, like I said, and don't pay too much mind to the order I placed them. They're not placed in a specific order. So for instance, it's not like I think that 2010 is absolutely far and above the worst, and then it goes in this kind of pattern. Or even 2003, and then it goes in this kind of pattern, because that would then indicate that 2015 is a better year than 01 to me. It's not, don't get me wrong. So don't pay too much attention to that, just the tiers that they are in. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy with this for the moment. I think that it's decent. It's, of course, all my opinion. This is just what I feel right now based off the experience I've had with all of these sets. Literally all of them. And so yeah, no, I'm content. But of course, 2001 will always be, right? Look what I'm wearing. I definitely love 2001. So that's been it. Hopefully you enjoyed. I know this is a really long video, but it's one I really wanted to make. I'll do one more. There's another list Meso and I made. It is just the years ranked. I intended it to be both sets and story, but most people take it to be story only. So I think I'll just do it that way. But I'll do that later. I just want to do this for fun. It was kind of something I was looking at and I'm like, I want to do that. That looks like a lot of fun to do. And so there you go. But feel free to post pictures of yours in the comments. I read all the comments. I love reading comments. And I would love to see other people's opinions and tier lists. I like discussion. I just like hearing what other people think. So hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you so very much for watching. And I'll see you again, hopefully very soon. Have a great day.